Welcome to Love and Trauma, the real deal. I'm Danielle Sebastian, best-selling author, coach, and yes, I've been through the marriage trenches myself. This show is all about how to actually deal with trauma in relationships and make it work without losing your mind. If you're ready for honest talk, no fluff, and tools that cut through the noise, tune in because let's face it, love can be a bit of a mess, but it's a mess worth figuring out. This is Love and Trauma, the real deal.
Woman who spent her life saving others finally breaks. I know that story intimately because I lived it too. Back when I was working as a pharmacy manager in a hospital, my marriage was quietly falling apart. I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to be everything for everyone, at work, at home, in my marriage. And somewhere along the way, I stopped being anything for me. I wasn't journaling. I wasn't moving my body. I was eating whatever I could grab between responsibilities. And isn't that the cruel irony? The moment we need most to take care of ourselves is the exact moment we feel we can't. And the truth is, everything started to shift the day I realized I had to stop surviving and start healing. And that's why today's guest hits so close to home. Dr. Lamia Kapi is a pediatrician, author, and keynote speaker who empowers perfectionist mothers and professionals to stop overgiving and start living through mindful self-leadership and self-compassion. She draws from her own lived experience healing from childhood trauma, burnout, and perfectionism to help others perform or transform guilt into growth and reclaim their inner strength. In fact, our conversation was so rich and real, we turned it into a two-part series. In part one, Dr. Katby shares her raw personal story, what it was like to hit a breaking point, to be labeled a disruptive physician, and discover the path back to herself required unlearning everything she thought made her strong. And if you stay in touch till the end, she drops some real gems about burnout shame and why pushing through isn't the answer. And trust me, you'll want to be here for part two, where we talk about what true healing looks like after burnout. But we're also going to talk about how childhood trauma shows up in her work as a pediatrician and how we as a society can show up better for our kids and for each other. This isn't just a conversation, it's a wake-up call and a warm invitation to start choosing yourself again. Let's dive in.
Tell me a little bit about your background and what you're doing today.
Uh, as you said, I am a pediatrician. I have been in the practice in Northwest Indiana for almost 30 years now. I am still going strong and very busy. I have myself suffered from burnout, and I was able to recover and live now a really beautiful, fulfilled life. And I found my calling, which I believe we have so many callings in our life. And I am now here to empower women, professional women in general, to learn about burnout, how to avoid burnout. And if they have been already burnt out, it's not a life sentence. There is a way out.
That is amazing. So,
Thank
because
you.
I know that a lot of us are in burnout in our relationships, from our
Mhm.
job, for many reasons. Our
Yes,
society today causes burnout. But if you wouldn't
yes,
mind, would you mind
yes.
telling me your personal story with burnout?
With with burnout, sure.
Yeah.
It started. So I was. I'm gonna give you how it started,
Yeah.
actually. Okay, and so, or
Yes.
maybe I'm gonna start from the end and then go back in my story. In
Mm.
2014, I was declared a disruptive physician, and the hospital I was working for, they asked me to stop working. People in my office complained about me and how reactive I was, how angry I was behaving, which is completely true, by the way. What we did not know I was not being disruptive. I was, but really it was related to my burnout, my
What was
complete and
the
utter
root
burnout. So the root,
cause?
correct. And that going back, it stemmed from I pushed hard. I mean, I was born in Syria, and then I moved here when I was 27 years old with my 2 months old baby at that time. She was born in Syria. We came here when she was 2 months. My husband, now my ex, was here already because he was granted the visa, and I actually was not granted an entry visa. And until my firstborn, whose birthday is today, was actually born, and then we came here. Not a word of English. I had to study my exams. I finished my med school in Syria. So I came here when I was 27, and I had to study for the qualifying exam to be able to do my residency. My love is pediatrics. I was able to pass really quickly my exams and get into the University of Chicago pediatric residency program.
Okay, so you did
I,
residency
I did
in the
residency
States.
in the state. I actually did 1 year
Okay.
of internal medicine, did not like it, and I did another intern year at University of Chicago, and then I finished my residency, and I stayed as chief resident. So total training was about 6 years, and
Had you known English your whole life, or how did that
I
work?
came with no word of English to the
No.
country. But I studied
Oh.
for my exams. My second language was French, and not very good one. My main language, my first, I mean, I speak fluent Arabic. Obviously, I spoke Arabic
Uh-huh.
the first half of my life, and
Okay.
then I came here. I had to learn English with a baby, like, and with me. So I listened to TV shows. I watch TV shows and I listen to the radio and songs, and that's how I learned English because I've never taken a grammar class, and
What?
until now, until now,
What do you mean until now?
I've never taken a grammar class, and I seriously had to learn English that
On the
just
fly.
on the fly,
Oh, wow.
and but then I listened. I tried to be mindful when I'm listening to people and pick up on how to say things. And obviously, when I had my children, when they start to make fun of you for your accent on how you talk, you start to even learn more because you want to
Oh,
impress them.
yes.
So
So just
yes,
curious, did the
yes,
kids
please.
know Arabic? Did your kid,
They tradition. So here's what happens, okay? And this is
yeah,
happens to
what
everyone who is
happens?
born who's born who came as an immigrant. Your first
Uh-huh.
child learns the native language of their parents because that's what
Uh-huh.
you speak at home. And then the second child comes, and I have three children. That comes that when the second child is born, and they start to go to school. What happens? They start to speak to each other in English, and they speak to us in English, and we respond in my language, Arabic, or could be Spanish, or
Arabic.
could be French, or could be like that happens with all people who come from different countries. And so the first child speaks perfect. The second child is 50%. And the third child, in my case, knew cuss words in Arabic, basically. That's what literally.
I get it. I
So,
get
so,
it. Okay.
so this is seriously what happens. And, but then unless you are really mindful, and I wasn't, unless you are committed to teach
Yeah.
them, there are people who are successful and they're very good. I admit I wasn't
Well, you were a
very
little
committed.
busy,
I
right?
was. I
You were a
was really
little
busy.
busy.
I was pushing hard. I was pushing hard to be successful. I want it all. I want it all. I wanted the career. I wanted the family, and I wanted the house with the picket fence. So I
Yes.
and the
That
dog.
takes a lot of work. A lot of work.
And I pushed and I pushed and I really pushed hard, and I did all of that. I had my second child in residency during residency, and then my third child when I was practicing in my first job.
Oh, wow. Okay. And
Uh,
so tell me just briefly, and we'll get obviously to the burnout, but when did the marriage dissolve?
we could see our differences really. We could see the differences starting. We started to evolve differently, and have different interests, and we start to have like lots of conflicts between the two of us. And we tried, and it wasn't. We knew it wasn't working, but I remember my sister, who now deceased of cancer, she told me we don't divorce. And
Yeah.
because she said that, I stuck in a marriage that was not working.
Yeah.
And it was not going to work for the two of us. It's just something that we both struggled with. And it's now, uh, it's, but it led to lots and lots of issues, obviously, which stemmed also from my own childhood, because again, my sister's words, things that you hear, I'm just like, you don't divorce and you just stay in the wrong relationship. It does not mean he is a bad person or I am a bad person. It just means that we were not meant to stay together. And that happens during the days I was still pushing, and we have no family here. At that time, we had no family here. So childcare was an issue. We were codependent on each other. We were enmeshed in a way, and that when you are codependent and enmeshed in a relationship, and I'm using words that we both know how they affect us, and I did not see a way out at that time.
What did the codependency look like for both of
So
you?
for me, it was like I mean, I was if I for me was I counted on him and he counted on me. I put him on the pedestal, and the more I wanted, the more I gave, the more I I know he asked of me, and
Yeah.
I had to try harder and harder and harder to please somebody who was not reciprocating.
And losing yourself
And no
in the
doubt,
process.
no doubt,
Okay.
absolutely. I
Okay.
was I was called a pretend. I was called mediocre wife. I was called lots of things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the end, which, sorry, I just
Yes.
took you a lot
Yeah,
through the middle, but
yeah, it's okay. Yes. So it's then at some point, for my first job to become a citizen, I had to work in an underserved areas. I worked in a place called East Chicago, Indiana, which is very close to Chicago. It's not
Mm,
Illinois, it is Indiana, but it's an underserved area. And I was able to get for me and my family the green card, and then we became citizen. After I
mm,
finished working there for about 7 years, I tried to open private practice with one of my colleagues from residency. We worked together for 7 years, and during that time, I started to suffer from migraine headaches, and I kept pushing. I just kept pushing because you think that you just keep going, and I also was told I'm not making enough, and it's like I'm not successful, and I'm a loser. It's just all of these things that's like pushed me like harder and harder to succeed. Then when my migraines included like a very, very like rare and debilitating migraine. It's called hemiplegic migraine, which when I would lose the ability to walk or talk, like it's like stroke. My entire side, my right side would stop working, and that will take days for me to be able to verbalize again, to talk again, or to walk again. And that went on for years. I saw so many specialists, so many ER visits. I was admitted out of town to different state even, and I kept pushing. My staff at that time and my partner, they started also to not be supportive, and they just couldn't deal with it. So why I was admitted one time in 2011, they actually left the practice. My partner left the practice and took most of the staff with her. And my divorce was final in 2011 at the same time, in the same
oh,
month. So I tried to survive. I tried to survive and run my private practice as a single mom now, as a failing practice, and I'm starting all over again, and no support. And that was really hard. I
Did you
decided
also
then.
say, you said you worked at the hospital too, or you
So
saw
that I
patients?
was, so this is, I saw
Okay.
patients at the hospital. This is when I decided I can't do this anymore. I cannot be a private
Oh,
practitioner anymore. I
okay.
need help. This is when I approached the hospital and I joined as an employed physician.
Okay.
And here's what happened then. I pushed harder because now I was still having migraines, obviously, and I pushed harder because I wanted to prove myself. So all my life, I'm trying to prove myself to somebody or someone. And I had to work hard now because I wanted to prove myself that I am worth it. I am worth being employed. I am worth being on staff because I am really good pediatrician. I mean, I'm really good at what I do. The art, I consider it an art, not just a job. And the harder I pushed, and we had some not very uh, efficient people in the practice. We had some toxicity in the practice at that time
Mhm.
from the employees. So there's combination between me becoming reactive, becoming more angry, and me becoming and with the migraines and some toxicity. So I'm not going to blame just myself or them because it was the combination.
Yeah.
It was just a perfect
Storm.
storm,
Perfect storm.
and I was reactive. One of the people called HR on me, and HR intervened, and they asked me to go for full neuropsych evaluation. And during that full neuropsych evaluation, I literally broke down, and they decided that it's way more than just this is a human in crisis that needs help. And I was sent to out of state again to spend 2 weeks as an intense outpatient for disruptive physicians or physicians who are in crisis.
Is it a
And
separate clinic? What is
it's
this like?
oh yes. So this is it's so I did not know such a thing existed.
I did not either. No.
Uh-huh. This place was in Kansas, in Lawrence, Kansas. And so I had to go and for I was supposed to be there in intense outpatient therapy for 2 weeks for disruptive physicians or burned out physicians. The burnout was not even mentioned at that time. That's like, it's
It
like
was
that's
just
when you discover, yes,
disruptive.
disruptive physicians. So few physicians who have issues with, could be addiction, could be burnout, could be just reactive physicians, and
Yeah.
I'm talking physicians from like who are ER physicians, surgeons,
Yeah.
residents. I mean, it could be like anyone. I stayed for 9 weeks. I was there for 9 weeks. This is
You
how
have to
long I
tell
needed.
me how, okay, so the hospital basically talks to you and says, you've been, we find you disruptive and we want you to
This,
go to
mhm.
treatment.
Yes. So basically,
What?
yes. So,
Okay.
so here's I have to give them credit though. Okay,
Okay.
they they in a way they were concerned about me,
Okay.
but at the same
As they
time,
should be.
yes,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
were concerned about me.
Okay.
And because and I'm going to give him credit, the CFO at that time, he's no longer the CFO at that time, he knew me for years and years and knew who I am and
Okay.
how I practice and how I care, how much I care. And they paid for everything. So
Okay.
they sent me and they took care of everything. But again, um, what was supposed to be 2 weeks was 9 weeks, and I stayed away from my son, who was at that time 11, for the entire 9 weeks.
Ugh. Tell me
Um,
what you were thinking at that meeting.
uh, at that which meeting?
The meeting with they told you
With
that
the
they were
CFO?
worried about
Mhm.
you and
Yes,
they wanted you to
yes.
get treatment. Banging your head against the wall, trying to navigate the complexities of a relationship impacted by childhood trauma, it doesn't have to be this daunting. When you're married to a partner with unresolved childhood trauma, it can feel like you're walking on eggshells, never quite knowing what will set them off. No matter what you try, it feels like there's always something triggering another emotional response that seems completely out of context. And the harder you try to fix it, the more discouraged you feel. So what's the issue here? Navigating marriage with a trauma survivor is different. The love languages don't work. Date nights don't work. Self-help books don't help. But here's the good news. I've created something that does work. Something built from years of hard-earned lessons and real-life experience. Ready to take the first step toward real change? Let's talk. I'm offering a free one-on-one call where we'll dive into what's going on in your relationship and figure out a way forward together. This isn't just another quick chat. It's a chance to finally be heard, to share what you're going through with someone who truly gets it. No judgment, just real support. So if you're ready to start making sense of it all and find a little more peace in your marriage, book your free call now. Your happiness, your peace, and your relationship are worth it. Let's do it together.
I was tired. It was years, just years. I came to this country in 1991, and until 2014, I don't know, I don't remember a day that I did not push hard.
Yeah.
It's just like you're in a survival mode for so long because you think that you should because you're never good enough. And it's just to say, I seriously, I need help.
Did
And I
you
was
go
lucky
into
to get it.
treatment with that? Did you go into treatment with that? Or how did that
Yes,
work?
yes. I
Okay.
went to treatment with a lot of sadness, lots of uncertainty, lots of confusion, and lots of crying and lots of tears. And but I just also knew, because please help me.
Something needed to change. You knew that
Yes,
deep down.
yes, yes. Yeah.
Tell me what this looks like. This disruptive physician treatment.
I know, right? And you're in the room with brilliant people, the best in the
Yeah.
field, the country's, it's just, I mean, awesome group of people, all burnt out, all amazing, all needed help, all surrendered to the process after. In the beginning, many of us were angry, but then
Right.
at
Right.
some point you look at each other, and here's the funny part: that when I first arrived, I was late because I'm like, I don't know if I want to
You
be
were
here. I did not.
late?
It's like I was late. I was like, I don't know if I want to be here. I don't know if it's like so. So I,
Your
it's,
resistance.
it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. I was resisting. It's like, but I knew I have to
Yeah.
do it, but I was resisting just something in my brain. And I walked in a room full of people, and they sat me down. And I remember 1 p.m. in this big room, and this therapist, who they called the assassin, was, conducting the session, the assassin in a good way.
Okay.
He brings that stuff out of you.
Okay, good.
And then just like, and I sat between people on a big couch between few guys, and
Really?
I
Oh my
can't, I remember like
gosh.
being, I think we were like two or three, I think three females, maybe seven, eight males, just about. And and he looked at me and I was like, "What's your story?" And I'm like, he's
You're
strange.
like, I'm a disruptive physician. Thanks.
And now, of course, I'm telling my
Oh,
story and what led me here, and that conflict I had in the office, what led to this. And then I
yeah.
was like, and I'm sobbing and I'm crying, and everyone's looking at me like they've been there, like, and I was like, they've been there.
Yeah.
And then the question he asked was very interesting, and he goes, "Who here believes that she's the firstborn?" And
Really?
almost everyone like raised their hand.
Oh,
Here's the kicker: I'm the firstborn for my mother, but not for my father.
it
But
doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. And there's 7 years between my older
Yeah.
sister and myself. So I am considered for firstborn regardless. And I
Yeah.
was the caretaker of my younger sisters and of even my older sister, because her parents got divorced and she was not, it's just like I was the one
You
who
were a
was,
caretaker,
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
reliable one.
Right. Correct. Correct. Hmm.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. So were
Eh,
all of you kind of firstborns?
I would
Or
say probably most people there. They were
were
perfectionists, high achievers, pushing hard. Had they What happened? They break you down before they build you up. This is,
do
if I want
they?
to simplify it, they break you
Okay.
down before they build you up, and that is not a bad thing in retrospect,
And by
obviously.
breaking down, does that mean that they're working through I'm assuming you're very defensive about
Mhm.
why you did those things and maybe at the beginning blaming other people and they're basically trying to break that down for
And
you.
again, each one of us who goes through trauma and go through conflict, I think we have the two sides. Okay,
Yes.
your emotional brain and your thinking brain. There's this, like, since like your
Your
higher
safety
functions,
brain.
like I say, yes, it's conflicted. It's like
Yeah.
we become children again. Adults
Yep.
are children, like they're just big children, right? And I'm
Mhm.
like, so my emotional brain, obviously, it's the one that's trying to protect me, and that's just like, okay, no, you were wrong. You like, it's like you want to be, but then my executive high functioning brain is telling me like, you have responsibility. You
Yeah.
are responsible for part of what happened, and you have to take responsibility for it. Okay, and then they kind of integrate that into one,
Okay.
and I love that concept so much because I think that's what we need. And when continue the conversation, I'm sure we'll circle back to that. Um, I when I say also they break you down, to be honest, also they do one thing that I've been to therapists many times in my in my life. Um, they go down, dig down deep back into your childhood trauma as far as you can remember. And they take your story and you just talk and talk and talk. And I thought my life was great. And they counted, I still remember 16 different PTSDs.
Right.
16.
That created coping mechanisms
Correct.
that end up
Correct.
not serving you
Yes. Correct.
in
Yes.
adulthood. Was most
Mhm.
of it in group or was there one-on-ones?
Both in
Okay.
groups and one on one. So I had a young guy as my counselor or
Wow.
therapist. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh
I
my
meet with, like, I
goodness.
think weekly or bi-weekly or something. I can't remember. Mhm.
Wow. Okay, so 9 weeks. And how do they determine how long? Until you're ready? Till you're
Yes, not
okay.
big. We had intense work. Obviously, we had to read lots of books. I got introduced to lots of great books, and
Did you?
that, oh my gosh, it was
Yeah.
just like, that
Wow.
it's just very. it's an amazing work they do, to be honest. They do
Yeah.
amazing work. It's
Mm.
just it, and that was the beginning of my healing. And I
Yeah.
say that all the time. That was
Yeah.
not I was not healed in Lawrence, Kansas. That was the first step towards my healing, because healing takes time and takes a lot of work on your part and lots of support of on the like on people that love you and they know who you are. And
Yeah.
that's when I was lucky to have that support. And I
Oh.
understand not everyone does, to be honest with you.
So how was it coming back? Did you go back to work right
I
away?
did. I
Okay.
did. But they made it
Same
changes.
place at
Same
the same
place.
hospital. Okay.
Same place.
How was it? Were you scared?
I wanted to interview a different place. I
Uh-huh.
wasn't scared.
You weren't.
But I did start from the beginning again. But I had
You
some
did.
tools that was implement, like I was how to manage my migraine headaches, how to take
Yeah.
pauses, how to breathe, how to be intentional, sleep, alcohol, caffeine, like all of the stuff that's, our coping mechanisms. And I implemented those for the most part. I'm not saying
Okay.
now I'm better, but I
Did the
tried to
migraines
implement
go
them.
away?
No, no, no. The migraines took
No.
years. The migraines took years to go away. But
Years. Okay.
they took years until I really, really practiced mindfulness. I really dug deep and I continued the work. I hardly get them now. If I get them, I take electrolytes and lay down, and
They don't last as long.
no, no, I don't take
Good.
ibuprofen even. At some point in my life, I can't tell you how many therapies I've had. I mean, I was on like five different medications for the migraine. I had like injections everywhere. I mean,
Oh,
I had to have like some procedures. I mean, I didn't leave from holistic to science to just like I didn't leave anything to treat my headaches, and I had fibromyalgia on top of it. So it's like I was in pain. Like I had like my hair hurts. I mean, it's just like I kept
physical
my hair, like I
manifestation.
couldn't touch my hair.
Yeah.
And now I can touch it. And I was like, and now, I mean, seriously, it's like it's like your entire body was in a hyper vigilant, just like what's going to happen next. And like,
Yes.
it's just an intense pain. Yeah.
Tell me, you did mention that you went to lots of therapy. Did you go to
Mhm.
therapy before this
I did.
incident? So
Uh-huh.
tell
I
me
did.
about that.
I did. So I went to therapy because I started when my first, right, my first, and that was one of my PTSDs, and it is also the first time I talk about it, or my second time maybe.
Uh-huh.
Beside Kansas, my first therapist was I was still in Syria, and I broke up with my
Oh,
first boyfriend, and who left like after 4 years. I was 17 to 21, and he left the country to. He was also a physician to Spain, and we broke up, and I was devastated. It's my first. It's like a time, and I was
first love.
first love. And so I went to a therapist and back home, and he tried to take advantage of me, and I escaped. And
Mm.
so that was one of my
Mm.
PTSDs and trust trust
Yep,
issues.
that's one of them.
And yeah, and I was like, so and since then until Kansas, all my therapists were female, and I did not realize that until we talked about it, because I hid that story also. Like it was like I kind of just like I suppressed it because I did not want to talk about it. Um, and uh, then here, therapists, when I had started to have issues in my marriage, I went to a therapist. Uh, and then I tried to talk to her about my childhood issues, and then she would dismiss me and was like, let's talk about the current things that we need to fix. And I was like, it's just not. And it's funny, the last visit with her, I still remember vividly. She asked me when I was saying something about my marriage, that's what's happening. And she asked me, I was like, why are you still with him? And I'm like, what do you mean? I love him. I was like, why are you still with him? I'm like, what do you mean? You're supposed to
I'm
help me.
done with
It's
you.
like,
I'm not coming
you're
back.
supposed to help me, like figure things out, not to ask me, like, why are you still with him? And that was my last visit with her. Yes. And then I've had, when I was diagnosed with a migraine, I talked to a migraine headache specialist, therapist. And she was awesome. Like she was like, she's the one who told me we don't fix things, we work with them. Or um, she would say things like, "Do you have ADD? You're always late." I was like, "So you have?" I mean, in a good way. It's not. So
Yep.
she was fantastic therapist. And after Kansas, they wanted me to go and see a therapist also. So I've had quite a few therapists in my lifetime. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Okay. But yeah, but you never really addressed that burnout until
Correct. I did not know. I
nope.
really didn't know.
No.
It's a problem that I discovered how I want it. This is like, because once I start to improve and I start to, realize what I went through, because I was never disruptive. I mean, not disruptive. I mean, I was reactive, but I've never hurt anyone. I've never, and we made changes. By the way, like when I came back and I worked for the same hospital, same office, they made lots of changes. They
Because it
hired
was
other
multi
people. Yes, yes.
faceted.
Like from like different manager, different people, a much, much, much better, much healthier environment. Much healthier environment.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so glad. Okay, well,
Thank
let's
you.
get to what you work on now. So you had, or what you've done since then for
Okay.
burnout.
Yes.
Tell
So
me.
since then, I'm extremely mindful, and then what I discovered, every time you go to the doctor would tell you, "Oh, to live healthy, you need to exercise, eat healthy, and exercise." And I was like, "Okay, this is." I'm sorry. So why am I not happy? Why am I don't feel healthy? Why am I getting migraines? I was like, why am I getting migraines still? I eat
Yeah.
healthy and I exercise a lot. I mean, I probably exercise too much. And then I discovered, I was like, no one talks about sleep. Very few people were talking about
Mm,
sleep. And I started to notice, as physician, obviously you don't sleep. As a mother, you don't
ever.
sleep. A
Yeah.
combination of the being physician and a mother, you just like you don't sleep. So I started to get more interested in sleep, and I started to see how my parents, my moms in my practice, the moms in my practice, how fatigued, tired they are, and how they're like becoming more reactive,
Yep.
angry at times, um, depressed, shut down, postpartum. And it's just like, so I start to like dig more into it, start to read more about it, and I start to work on my sleep. And
Mm.
that's when the real change started to happen for me. I prioritized my sleep and I learned to say no. I was saying yes to everything, every social event, every outing, every little things. If somebody asked me for something, I would say yes. And I learned saying no is a complete sentence, as Anne Lamont said. And so I started to say no, and I thought people were not going to like me if I say no too much or I
I
don't show up to
know.
social
It's all in
events.
our head.
And I realized, guess what? Actually, respect you.
Yeah.
You earn respect when you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You don't
Mind
lose
blowing.
people's love. And if you do, like, who cares? They
Right.
don't belong in your life.
No.
But people respect other people who have
Can
boundaries.
state their boundaries.
And yes,
Yes.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes. And they literally practice self-care. After that, I knew emotional health was very important. And since I practice yoga and meditation, I knew like my breath was very important. So that's when I came up, that's with the 5 pillars of optimal health. And I wrote the book. It's
Okay.
2.5 years now. It's a 5 pillars of optimal health. I mean, just what the doctor ordered, the 5 pillar of optimal health, which is sleep, emotional health, mindful eating, intentional breathing, and physical activity.
Let's go. Let's go into them. Give me
Okay.
your pearls.
Okay.
Let's start with sleep.
Sleep. I mean, okay. What do you want to know? Just say, okay.
Uh, what's
How
the
many hours of sleep? How
science?
how many hours? How many hours of sleep you think adults need to get?
Oh God.
Okay,
Um,
eight. Eight. Eight.
oh,
The
okay.
answer is eight.
I was
Okay.
going to say, is it 7? Because that's what I get.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So it's, are you refreshed after you get 7 hours of sleep? Are you
No, I'm
refreshed?
not.
Okay. Okay.
I'm really not.
Then, eight is the average, and it does
Is
not go
it?
down with age. Does not go down because
It
lots of
doesn't.
people think
Yeah.
older people like 50s, 60s, and 70s, they need less sleep. They do not. From the age of 18 until we die,
8.
average is 8 hours of sleep. The way I think about it, each
Okay.
sleep cycle is about 90 minutes. 5 cycles is perfect. That's 7.5. Okay. So 7, some people are
Okay,
fine
wait,
with
say that
7.
again.
Okay.
There's how
Each
many
sleep
cycles?
cycle, each sleep cycle is about 90 minutes.
90.
Okay.
Okay.
90,
Okay.
90. And we need about 5. This is
Okay.
how I look at it. So 7.5 hours is perfect, plus minus. Okay.
Okay.
So that's okay. So there's
For
some
going
people
into the
7 hours is
bathroom and
perfect. Yes,
all those things.
exactly. Exactly. Waking up
Right.
because, as you get older
Uh,
and getting hot
yeah.
flashes. So yeah.
Tell
And
me,
yes.
this is my
Mhm.
question for sleep.
Yes.
What about sleeping pills?
I am not pro sleeping pills. You
Okay.
can really, really work on your sleep and sleep pattern if you need sun exposure in the morning because there's two
Sun.
chemicals in your brain. The
Oh, is that
sun,
what you said?
the sun,
Sun. Okay.
the sun in the morning is very beneficial because this is what regulates your I want to say like sleep hormones, which is
Cycle.
two, which is that sleep
Okay.
cycle, definitely your day cycle and your night cycle, which is control also the melatonin production in your brain, which we need melatonin. We
Okay.
less melatonin during the day, more melatonin at nighttime. And when you take those sleeping pills, you disrupt that.
Do you?
That lots of people suffer from
Okay.
like taking sleeping pills, and there's so much to it, obviously. But and exercising, it's okay to do mindful exercises in the evening, but not hardcore exercises because that's gonna release endorphins and that's gonna disrupt your sleep. So working
Okay.
out early in the day is
Okay.
much helpful to get sleep. The two things we know about, it's alcohol and caffeine. And I was a caffeine addict, and I still love coffee. Is my favorite drink. And
Yeah.
but now I changed. I drink coffee in the morning,
Morning.
and I do not. I drink maybe one decaf in the afternoon, like by no later than 2, and no caffeine at all. Like no cappuccino after dinner. Okay,
No.
no coffee after
Okay.
dinner. No, so there's not no caffeine, like meaning that no pop, no tea, no like nothing. Okay, and alcohol, it may be sedative, it may help you relax, but it actually affects your sleep cycle, so you're more tired. You're
Okay.
not resting.
For those of us who live in places where it's very dark in the winter,
Yes.
Montana, I live in Montana.
Uh-huh.
I've always wondered, what should
Mhm.
we be doing in the morning if it's literally there is no sun?
Yes, so
Tell
you
me
have
what.
to have your bright lights. Okay, that's another
Bright
thing. You have
lights.
to have your bright lights, even at
Okay.
home. You have to have your bright lights on. And
Okay.
at nighttime, it's the opposite. You have to have your red lights, your no LED lights. Like LED lights at nighttime, they're no. You have to cover the blue light to be able also and have more red light at nighttime to get that. But in the morning, and I live in Indiana, which so it's also dark. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
starting a little bit later in the day. That's why, do you guys start school late for high schoolers? I thought Montana
A
does.
little bit later
Yes.
for high school.
Which is
I think it's
great.
like 8:30.
Yes. So here it's 7:30. And there's a push that high schoolers should start late
Yes.
because their sleep cycle is different than the rest of the world, by the way, their age group. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know
that's
that.
bright light, open windows, bright light in the morning. You need it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So that was sleep. What was your
Yes.
second one?
Emotional health, which is basically what happened to you.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. It's what
okay.
happened to you. What's your story and why you do these things you do and why it's like, okay, what was your childhood like? And know your temperament, know your attachment style, know your how you handle relationships and your personality trait, and heal it. Heal it.
Heal
It's
it.
not mental health, it's emotional health. And you need to work on it. You really have to dig deep, and you have to heal it.
Wow. If you've ever felt like you were drowning in your own life while everyone else thought you were doing great, this episode really hits home. And here are my 3 biggest takeaways, the real deal from today's powerful conversation. Number 1, burnout doesn't just drain your energy, it erodes your sense of self. Lamia's story showed us how easy it is to slip into survival mode where the doing never stops, the pressure never lifts. The version of you that once felt alive starts fading into the background. Number 2, unhealed trauma and perfectionism are a dangerous duo. So many of us become overgivers because we learned early on that love had to be earned through performance. But healing begins when we stop betraying ourselves to please everyone else. And number 3, the time you feel least able to take care of yourself is actually the time you need it most. Journaling, rest, eating well, moving your bodies, these aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. And yet, when we're burned out, they're often the first things to go. Sammy and I both had to learn that real change starts with radical self-responsibility and compassion. But guess what? This is just part 1. Next week, in part 2, we're diving into what it really looks like to recover from burnout. Plus, what Lamia has seen as a pediatrician when it comes to kids and trauma, and how we as a culture can do better. You do not want to miss it. So until then, give yourself the same grace you give to everyone else. You deserve it. We'll see you next time.
All right, that's a wrap for today on Love and Trauma, the real deal. Big thanks to my guests for sharing their insights. Couldn't have done it without you. Now, for those of you looking to take this journey further, I've got something special. Head to my website to grab Real Tactics, Real Healing, a survivor's playbook for navigating a relationship with a trauma survivor. It's packed with everything you need to know, do, and say to navigate the emotional minefield, find your balance, and regain your self-worth and happiness.